Ryan, Wes Anderson has a new movie.
Yay.
After French Dispatch, yay.
Yes.
Neither of us really cared for that. Asteroid City. He has grown his cast of actors yet again.
It may actually be bigger than Fast X.
I'll allow that argument. But what's funny is that he actually adds both end of the Hollywood age spectrum.
Yeah.
We get Tom Hanks,
Mm-hmm.
and we get Maya Hawke, and Sophia Lillis. So it's an interesting. He's growing in both generational directions in this, but we still get Jason Schwartzman, Scarlett Johansson's in this one. Cranston is here. Norton is here. It's
Jeffrey Wright.
Yep.
It's Brody.
We get Liev Schreiber is great is in this one, which is again Cecil B. DeMille is envious of the cast that Wes Anderson putting together. This is very hard to talk about. Here's
what I'd say. There was a main story. And that main story is about a group of kids who are given awards for making crazy science projects.
Yes.
And it takes place in a small town, tiny town, Atomic City. But it's framed as it initially kicks off. It's a TV show, and it's a TV show about a play and how you make a play. How it develops into becoming a performance.
Yeah, so it's a film about a television show, about a play written by and how the playwright developed that story that we're watching.
Yeah.
That is three levels of complexity too much.
And how the actors how the actors approach their roles.
Yes.
I think the easiest way to go, though, is to just say, at least what I had to do, and this is what I like about this, is I can now go back and I can see it again and see it and kind of take layer by layer.
Yeah.
I think the best way to approach this film is, look, you're gonna get that there's that stuff going on, and you're gonna know when it's backstage and versus when it's on stage. And I would just say focus on the on stage element at this point. For it's nice and quirky, whatever that we have these TV program aspects. But if you get so distracted with trying to figure all of that out, which I think there is a lot going on there, I think you miss the central story. About these kids, these awards, and something crazy happens, and it turns into. It turns into it's got Western sci-fi.
It's got social commentary. It's got some
commentary,
political commentary.
It's in the 50s, 60s, so it's got that atmosphere going, but it's not like the real 50s or 60s. It's that imagined. It's the Wes Anderson imagined place that we have a nostalgia for, which is kind of funny because we've never been there.
Right.
But we still, for whatever reason, we're drawn to it.
So yeah, cast of thousands. Any particular person you didn't like in any particular aspect of it you didn't like? Or
no, because I think the cast is used really quite well. You have this massive cast, but they don't feel shoehorned in. It feels like it could have been it doesn't. I mean, there are elements where it says, could you have a cast that big in a play? That realistically, no, you couldn't. But that's not really the point.
No, that's true. Well, let's talk about that for a second. This movie is only an hour and 44 minutes.
Yes, and it's tight, and it's.
But you could argue that we could see 10 more minutes of the kids subplot, the 5 award winners, or 5 more minutes of the school kids and Maya Hawke, their teacher, or 3 minutes of actual development of the bluegrass country band guy, cowboy dudes, and none of that would feel pressed in. They're all interesting.
But I don't think I guess
it's not necessary.
Yeah, and I would say that what Wes Anderson does and has always done really quite well is to give us a taste of this world. And there's always a lot of things going on, and it's like it's like if you were to write a pop song, but it has 3 possible choruses, and all 3 choruses are great. Rather than, it's not one of those songs that you just have a chorus and that's it. There's actually legitimately 3 parts of that song that on its own probably could have been a hit. But they've managed to put all 3 of them into one song. And while, maybe it should have been 2 songs. But the fact that it works as one, to me, is just remarkable. I mean, if you can't tell, I really like this movie.
No, I think this one, it is, like I said, I think it's at least 2 layers too busy. But
I
if
almost
you just
don't mind that,
But if you're going to rewatch it, that's the way to go. I mean, like if you want to watch this 7-8 times, you're going to be able to dig deep into it. But
that part of me that says I can do that.
I could
is a film that I could actually sit down and watch 2 or 3 more times just to see everything.
Right. Well, even it's what in typical Wes Anderson fashion, at one point the levels cross over.
Oh yeah.
With Bryan Cranston, which is great. Oh wait, I'm not supposed to be here. I'll just and he takes back off. So it's it's a little nod maybe by Wes Anderson. It's like I know it's busy, just stay with me. But no, it is. It's really good. Just watch it, just kind of accept that you're watching the story of this town and this event and these kids, basically, and their parents and whatnot. And don't worry about those other layers. And I think anyone can watch this movie. It's definitely. I said it's not top tier Wes Anderson, but
I don't know, man. It's pretty close if it's not. There's definitely ones that I prefer. But actually, what I'm going to say is I reserve the right to later determine where this fits.
Yeah, with his movies you almost have to.
It's not, I mean, there is so much that I do like about it.
Oh yeah.
But it's where does it rank? I don't know, but I can tell you that it's I don't want to say it's like his comeback film, because it wasn't like The French Dispatch was horrible. It just wasn't up to what we're used to. But this is I guess you can call this a return to form. But he wasn't that far off. It wasn't like he was a baseball team in last place that turned around and won the World Series the next year. No, he had a mediocre film that didn't work as well as I think he probably wanted it to, or he thought it did, and didn't do everything that we expect from a Wes Anderson film. But wasn't horrible, So I don't want to be like I could watch that again. Not as I wouldn't be as willing to watch it again as much as I'd be willing to watch this again.
Right.
Because I think there's more to unravel here, and I like that. That's something I like. I guess the part that kind of sums up my feelings about this film to a great extent is at the beginning they have the writer, and he's going to we're going to show you the writing process. Well, actually, we're not, because the writing process is boring.
Right.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of skip past the fact that he was sitting at a table and doing this all on his own. And we're going to go to the point where it's been written. And we're going to read from the script the description of the town. And they read this description of what the stage would look like. And it's so complex that I am sitting there going, I have no idea what this town looks like. And then immediately, what do? They cut to the town.
Yeah.
And they show it, and the entire thing is shown, and you see everything, and suddenly all those crazy things that they were describing that you couldn't quite put together are sitting there. And it's like, oh.
The miracle of theater.
Well, and why didn't you just say that? Well, I did. We did.
We literally did 10 seconds ago.
Yes, this is what we were describing to you. It was just so strange, and that you couldn't, and detailed, that your brain couldn't unscramble it.
Yep.
And I like to think I'm a reasonably intelligent person.
But hey, look, if you enjoy what you're seeing and hearing on the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast, why not take a second to click subscribe if you're on YouTube, click follow wherever you're listening to us. Follow us on Twitter at VS Movie Podcast. Same over on Facebook. If you're on Instagram, it's Visually Stunning Movie Podcast. That would be awesome for us. We appreciate you listening. And now let's get back to the show.
But then you see it and you go, well, yeah. I don't know why it's that way, but okay. I don't know why there's this overpass that is half finished, and I don't even know why it was started. But you know what? It's there.
Yep.
And it's part of this place. Okay, fine. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's go into this place that he's created, and let's, run with it. And I don't know if it's because I grew up in Utah, but growing up in Utah, there's aspects of, they're testing nuclear weapons.
Yep.
And not so distant, like up the road, basically.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, growing up in Utah, particularly in the late 70s and 80s, the downwinder thing was a part of our culture. So there's that. Westerns were part of our culture. The whole area 54 and everything is close to our culture.
Yep.
So he's taken a lot of these things that were odd parts of my childhood and kind of put them together in a old B movie sort of way, which again, part of my childhood was seeing, spending summers seeing, public domain films that were in the public domain because they were cheap. And so the theater could show those to kids, and it didn't cost them really much of anything to show them to kids. So you're getting all these old B movie sci-fi films, and that's in this. So, and I just was fascinated by how much of my childhood
is in this movie.
But it's not really my childhood. It's just reference points.
Yeah.
Because I was never a downwinder. I was, my life was anything but a Western. None of these things are things that are actual tangible, but they all remind me of sort of this place that was childhood, and I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, Wes Anderson's really good at he gives the impression of a lot of things.
Yeah,
and there are a lot of things that a lot of people recognize.
They're
in some way.
Touchstones. Yeah, they're touchstones.
It's just he builds a world, and if you like his worlds, then and this cast of characters in this world works.
Yeah.
And I think that was my problem with actually the French Dispatch, is I didn't feel like that cast of characters worked in that world. They didn't for me, which is probably why I didn't like it. But my favorites are his. I like Grand Budapest and
phenomenal film.
Moonrise Kingdom.
Yeah, where you have weird characters that make sense,
right,
to be together.
And in this one, you have weird characters in a weird situation, but together they just kind of normalize.
Yeah,
and you just kind of ride along this weird, normal wave of storytelling, and it's just one of those. It's just one of those things that he's really good at, is somehow making it work. And when it doesn't work, you don't necessarily care, because you're just like, you know what? It's just it's a point of view issue, or maybe I saw it wrong or something. You can dismiss any issue you might have, for the most part, with his movies. And this one does all that really well, but there's not really a lot to, like I said, except to try to keep the level straight.
Yeah.
But it is always clear where you're at.
Yes. And I think that's the part. So it's like, okay, look, you listen to us try to explain it to you. Just understand that, again, it's like them trying to explain what the set looks like.
Yeah.
Just when they show it to you, you'll know when it is whatever layer it is, you'll know. Now, I don't know that you'll get the entire significance, or you get all the humor, or all, because I don't know. That's a lot to take in. There's a lot that happens, and there's a lot of, characters, and they're all given a certain space. And yes, could they have a movie on their own? Yeah. Would I watch that movie? Probably.
Right.
Would it be as good? I don't know. But I like the idea that we're kind of dropped into a world that is so fully formed.
Yeah.
That and it's weird because this is a play, and so technically speaking, these characters don't exist when they exit.
Right.
But they feel like they have so much backstory that you could just follow them instead. And you would have, a different film, but the same film.
Yeah, I almost wonder what he could do with like a 6-episode miniseries.
Yeah.
6 1-hour episodes or whatever. That would be an interesting call. So Asteroid City opens this week. Opens wide. It opened limited last week.
And it did extremely well.
That is my understanding. Its per theater was nice.
It was astronomical. It was the highest per theater average since La La Land, which is obviously pre-pandemic, and to me, that's a very good sign. That because the indie film market was the one that could maybe go away.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think, it's just as important as the blockbusters. You need to cultivate theatrical experiences. They can't all be huge movies.
Right.
So that, if people are going to, I hope people do warm up to the idea of seeing this movie in theaters and going and supporting movies in theaters, because I think we're at a very dangerous point in cinematic history where a lot of these films won't play in theaters.
Yep.
At all. And I think that there's something about seeing a Wes Anderson film with a bunch of strangers, or not strangers, but just with people. The ensemble that's on screen, and you have an ensemble that's in the audience, and everyone's reacting differently to it. And I think that that's an important part of cinema, and I don't want to lose that.
No, absolutely. So if you're looking for something a little different this weekend, than the movies that they're ramming down your throat, trying to get the $80 to $120 million weekends to recoup their budget. It's a little different. It's actually a lot different, but in a good way.
But it's familiar too. That's
Yeah.
the weird thing about it is, what is it like? Well, it's like a lot of things, but it's not specifically a thing. It's a Wes Anderson film,
Right.
and it's wonderful that we live in an age where there's certain directors who have thing where you can say, well, this is a classic Wes Anderson film, and if you've seen his films, you know what that means.
Well, and it would be like saying, it's a Tarantino film.
Yes. And so, does it, I guess, yeah, it's nice to have in an age where we're having a lot of films that feel like the same thing, to occasionally get someone who comes in and says, you know what, I make my movies. I don't really care if they're popular or if they're timely. I'm just going to make my movies, and I'm going to make my movies the best I can. And that's what they're doing. It's, it's not like Wes Anderson's films are expected to do huge amounts of money. You kind of know the space that he exists in. I'd love to see that space get a little larger, but I don't think that's going to change. I don't think giving Wes Anderson more money, I don't think he would spend more money. I think he makes, the films cost what they need to cost.
Right. But he's never going, how much I don't think he's ever thinking, how big can I make it?
No, and he, I think he knows how to stretch a dollar.
That's true. Even if it's probably convincing some of these people to work for less.
Yeah, but who wouldn't want to?
Right, exactly. I mean, that's how we wind up with Tom Hanks. Thank God Tom Hanks has redeemed himself for me over the last couple of years.
Yes, Tom Hanks. He's a good character in this.
He is, and his performance is good. So Asteroid City opens this week, the 23rd, wide. Check it out. Like I said, if you want something a little different, there's not a lot of new stuff this week to go up against it. You're gonna, if you've seen what's in theaters and you want to get out, see something a little different, check out Asteroid City. It's you won't be bored.
No,
that's for sure.
No, and it's just I just love the simplistic and yet complicated, story that's told. Yep. And how it goes and kind of touches on things that feel childlike and innocent.
Yeah,
but it's not really innocent.
No, not at all. So yeah. So that's it. That Asteroid City, definitely check it out. We both thumbs up this one. Next week, the big release is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and we will be talking about that. We have seen it. That will be an episode worthy of I have no idea what, but we will be talking about it. There's a couple more coming out. We're a month away from Mission Impossible 7. So be watching for that. Once they decide they let us talk about that, I'm not sure when that embargo will end, but we'll talk about that as quick as we can. And we've got some TV and some other stuff to talk about, and we will get to that as well. So until we do, don't forget to like us, follow us on social media at BS Movie Podcast. You know that already. And until next time, I'm Mark. That is Ryan. Bye, Ryan.
See you guys.
And we will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.